Hey y'all. Hope you are well today. It is Monday, May 29th, Memorial Day. I just uploaded. I just uploaded the first of this video series, Working Our Roots podcast or Working Our Roots video series on Patreon. And I am just sitting with I'm proud of myself for doing it. I think that's what I'll start to say. It is so hard to see myself clearly. It is so hard to get outside of my head. It is so hard to remember that I have valuable things to share, even when I don't feel great about myself, or I don't like how I look, or I don't like how I feel, or I the way that I feel is very uncertain. And so this is, really a practice for me to do the things that I say I'm going to do, get more comfortable looking at myself for real, and really honoring this space and honoring the commitment of y'all who support my work, believe in my work, and just like care what I'm up to, and how you can be inspired by what it is I'm navigating. So I don't take that for granted at all. And yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I mentioned in the video, but in the most recent post, I talked about being in a tarot academy, Cecilia Weston Spiritual Academy, created and run by J.T. Perry. And I am in the Anansi cohort, which is teaching us how to read tarot Blackly or through a Black folkloric lens. And that's really, really stretching and pushing me. And I just realized, I'm so proud of myself. I just realized I have a coaching in a couple of hours. And future Sarah is just proud of herself for sitting down and doing this so that I can feel really productive about this day, because I actually have something else to do later. But what's interesting is that we're encouraged to, do a card pull a day as we're becoming more familiar with the tarot, just learning how to read it, creating our own associations. And so I pulled a card before this because I was trying to think. I have a zillion things that I could say at any given time, but I'm actually trying to ground my energy after doing things that are challenging to me. And so I pulled a card just to see if it would give me some inspiration and assistance with grounding. And I got the 10 of Staffs. I use the Dust to Onyx Tarot deck, which is considered very advanced, and it's also like an African diasporic interpretation of the tarot. So this in traditional tarot would be the 10 of Wands. And it kind of surprised me because the gist of this card is like dealing with responsibility and limits and things that you've worked towards or worked to obtain or just worked to create, and kind of slowing down to recognize if you have taken on too much, if you are overwhelmed by all the hats that you are wearing or the work that you are doing, whether considering whether it's time to take things off your plate and or delegate to others, or completely walk away. And I guess it surprised me just because I've really been thinking about how to take on the work and wear the hats that actually just truly manifested me making a living with the work that I do. And so to see and consider do you have too much responsibility? Seems kind of counterintuitive or even counterproductive. It seems like, no, that can't be it. I must take on a zillion more things right now because the things that I'm doing aren't working. And I guess it's leading me to sit with the more personal shadow work journey I've been on thus far. I laugh when I think about Shonda Rhimes' book, Year of Yes. I listened to the audiobook with my mom, and I laugh because I feel like I've been in a year of no. And I think it's perhaps more empowering than it sounds and sometimes feels because it's me saying no. And it's me saying no after having listened to myself and my intuition and my body and past versions of me and future versions of me. Determine if what is being offered, if what is being made available, if what it is that I'm trying to do is actually in alignment with what I need, is actually in alignment with who I want to be, who I say I am, what I want to be known for, how I want to be treated, how I want to treat people. Is this opportunity, this relationship, this environment, this work situation, is it aligning with what I say I need? And yeah, the past year has just been a lot of, actually the answer is no. That the answer is actually this does not align with me. This does not feel good. Actually, yeah, I've really got to move out of spaces that make me question my worth or my value or whether I know what I say I know, like spaces that make me question if I am who I say I am. And so some of you may be familiar with the PhD program that I left back in 2021. And it's wild. I'm sorry, I was distracted. It's wild because I want to jump around. I guess I'm going to say it's wild because I got a tarot reading. I got a tarot reading the summer before I started the PhD program. So summer 2020. I think I applied and was accepted into the program for the winter 2021. And I asked about the reading. I asked about grad school and a PhD program in that reading. And my sister Tamika said, your ancestors are saying that this is an integral part of your journey, this program. And I was thrilled. I was psyched because, yeah, this meant that what I wanted was what they wanted for me. And every way that I was seeing this PhD positively impacting my life and my career, and more importantly, my sense of self, was affirmed by my ancestors. And I say my sense of self because a big part of my pursuit of my PhD was for validation, was because I didn't really feel smart enough or successful enough or established enough. When I finished my master's program in 2018, it was an online program. So it was online, before the grand national shift, virtual everything. And I didn't attend my graduation after the master's program. Also, there were so many things going on with my family at the time. I didn't feel like there was a lot of celebration around me for this achievement. I kind of felt like I had done this work and it had just gone unnoticed. So another big part of the PhD program for me, even though I have wanted a PhD since undergrad, it was so now I can finally do the thing and people can acknowledge the thing and people can celebrate me for the thing. And I will really be as valuable and as smart and as successful as all of my peers in the whole world. And as everybody who's not me, right? And yeah, I feel good about myself. And so when I got the reading that was like, yeah, this is an integral part of your journey. I'm like, yes, they too. That's my ancestors are saying that this is what I'm supposed to do. Fast forward to 2021, it was hell. It was awful. It was so horrific. And it was just the violence and insidiousness of whiteness and patriarchy. And when I say whiteness, I very much mean that, like the notion that white people are the default and everybody else is sort of just this deviation that has to get in where they fit in, and not just, whiteness, really white, cis, heterosexual males who are able-bodied, Christian and wealthy, and then everybody else get in where they fit in. Even at the liberal arts school that was shaped around social justice, it was like, oh no, I am the other in this space. Y'all are very racist and misogynistic, and even, yeah, kind of like the sense that, oh, there are white queer people in the administration, so that means that at least that marginalized identity isn't in danger here. But no, it was homophobia, it was transphobia, it was just so slack and trifling. And yeah, I had to walk away. Because the whole 4 months I was in the program, I kept telling myself, this is what my ancestors want for me, so I have to survive it. I have to figure out how to do this because it's integral to my journey. And yeah, at some point, with the help of loved ones, really, it was not a bunch of people, it was my friend of food. And it was like, you don't have to pay them to suffer. And aside from the fact that it was really racist and trifling, it was expensive. Grad school is very expensive. And the thought that every term I would have to raise more money, I would have to figure out how to fund this program where I was suffering, where it was also very clear that I was smarter than everybody there, which is a hard thing. That's not what I was anticipating, right? That's not what I was expecting to find at all. Yeah, and so I left. And what I think was actually integral to my journey was that very clear reminder that these institutional spaces cannot validate me. That I am actually who I say I am. I'm actually bigger and wiser and more powerful and more brilliant than I even give myself the credit for. That these systems will convince you, like they will steal your shit and then sell it back to you and act like they got some exclusive patent on understanding and expertise and knowledge. And it was a big wake-up call for me. It's not as if I always know. I never seek outward validation again, of course not. That's not it at all. But in terms of being an integral part of my journey, I was supposed to be in there and walk away from that. I also feel like it affirmed. I walked away for undergraduates there at the College of Charleston who knew some shit was not right about the setup, but obviously, obviously this feeling bad in my body can't be right because I'm just me. Let me see if I can get more light in here. Okay, that's a little better. But yeah, I was supposed to. Oh no, I was talking about undergrad Sarah, who like knew that there were things about that liberal arts college that was not right. I remember going in at the College of Charleston freshman class of 2007, and Black students represented 3% of the 10,000 student population, and we were in Charleston, South Carolina. And racist shit would happen all the time. Like the racist shit that you hear about happening at schools, whether it's your school or you read about it online, like that shit was happening. along with just the reality that undergrad is kind of absurd for a lot of reasons. And there wasn't enough space to acknowledge all of that. Certainly there were guides and mentors and faculty and staff that were incredibly supportive of me that I wouldn't have made it out of school without, but I wasn't necessarily empowered back then to say, as I said in my PhD cohort in 2021, why are we reading this? Why do you have us reading this text by this white man? What do you think he's actually trying to tell us? This man who is a known eugenicist. Why are we trying to objectively kind of guess what the racist white men meant when they said what they said, when we are actually watching racist white men climb up the Capitol? And I was pretty about it in undergrad, but I wasn't there yet. I didn't know what I know now, and I didn't realize that all the work that I was doing to save my life was putting me far ahead of the game, far ahead of the standard that we are taught is the highest in all there is. I had gotten another tarot reading actually towards the end of 2020 and asked about the PhD program again, that I was getting ready to start. And at that time, Jade said that it was going to be a mixed bag, that I was going to deal with some like stubborn, testy, challenging energy. And also that very similar to what Malidoma Somé describes in, this looks better without the glasses. I decided to try these glasses today. I've been had them, but they were too tight on my head. And I don't know if my head got smaller, but they're not uncomfortable anymore. They just be falling down. But in Of Water and the Spirit, Malidoma Somé talks about having gone through his initiation or rites of passage that all adolescents in the Daguerre community have to go through to become adults. He went through his initiation as an adult due to the violence of colonization. But because he had gone through this initiation, this spiritual initiation, when he went to university I think he studied in Europe and the States. He may have also studied in West Africa, but I can't remember. But the point is that he never needed to study because he could just intuit. He could intuit the answers from his professors' faces. He would just know what the right answer was, and they would be so quizzical. They would just be confused about how he could do this. I guess maybe he didn't look like he was studying. I don't know. But he was able to excel. And Jade told me in the reading, it's kind of going to be like that. And in my mind, even as I read the book, like the image I kind of got is, if you know that meme with the white woman who's looking very quizzically, and like you see the equations kind of just highlighted around her face, like she's trying to figure something out. That's how I read Malidoma's work. Like, oh yeah, he's in these university classes and he sees the math equation on the teacher's face or whatever. But it was way more matter of fact than that. It was way more like, I have been reading Audre Lorde and Bell Hooks to save my life. I have been studying the words of the Combahee River Collective. I have been listening to Black, queer, and trans thought. I've been listening to disabled people. I have been interrogating the fat phobia and every other phobia that I would have to internalize. I would have to believe. I would have to hold these biases to believe that I'm upright in this crooked room that is America. And I'm intentionally unlearning those things so I can be safe to myself and those who are more marginalized than I am. And I'm a historian. I am a historian with a queer womanist abolitionist politic for my life. And so, yeah, I was running circles around everybody in the PhD program because all they could do was cite the founding fathers and the ancient Greeks. And like, you know, I spent a couple of days feeling really intimidated, like, oh damn, I I don't know shit about Alexander the Great, except I've looked him up and he invaded North Africa. And so I don't understand why he's someone that we're focused on here in 2021. But it was very much these experiences of saving my life, these experiences of trying to find joy and understanding, these experiences of looking to those who came before me, what they've said and what they've left, the reality that they had articulated all the things that they were supposedly trying to figure out in 2021 while the sky is falling. I think I said all of this shit on a podcast episode. But I do possess a knowing, based on my initiations, based on my guides, based on those who have worked with and supported and aided me on my path, in every space I've been in, even in the violent spaces, even in the challenging space of undergrad. There were people who saw me, who showed up, who were sent to make sure I made it through that, to make sure I made it through that, out of that, and to here, to make sure that I made it through that, out of that, and to here, so I could finally be in a position to say like, oh no, I don't need that. I don't need that. That's not what I need. That's not going to prove anything about me. And I don't need the anxiety and the angst of spaces that make me question whether I know what I know or I am who I say I am. I don't need that anymore. And again, I still be having to remind myself sometimes. I was in a spiritual community earlier this year, just for a hot second, thankfully, because I don't know if y'all can hear my stomach growling. For a hot second, because I have been learning like to get the fuck out of burning buildings. And yeah, I didn't realize until I was surrounded by the fire that I had again thought that this person had something for me that I didn't have, that there was some level of activation or knowing that she could give me so that it would finally click and I would finally have the things and I would finally be successful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And actually, even though this was a space run by a Black woman, it was still a space where whiteness, and I guess white womanhood is the norm and the standard. And again, everybody else can just get in where they fit in. And I actually brought it up to the instructor. What happened, I'm gonna wrap this up in a minute. What actually happened was there was an opening night and we did the meditation. This was a virtual space. We did the meditation the opening night. And then at the beginning of the next night, which was the following day, the instructor, the Black woman, asked if we had had any, unique experiences post the meditation from the night before. And have mercy. One woman, talked about being a teacher and a fight having broken out in her class that day among two students of color. This was a white woman. It was either a Latinx student and a Black student, and they were fighting. And then she started crying on this Zoom because she hates racism. So I don't know which one of the students of color she was referring to as racist, but she later referred to the racist student again in the WhatsApp. But as she's weeping and the instructor is letting her know that it's okay and this is based on, her spiritual being, et cetera, and what she's really here to do in the world. This woman also said she did the birth charts of her students. And again, That's not something you need to be doing and looking up about people's children without consent. Anyway, as the instructor is meeting her where she is, this other white woman starts crying because she too hates racism. She also hates the South. And the land is awful, and she has so much grief, and she just lives there because her African-American husband is from the South, but she hates it, and she really wants to go out west, and she just cries because she's got to speak up. And her husband says, if I were to say the things that you were saying, I'd get arrested. But she knows she has to say it. And I was very horrified for a lot of reasons. Obviously, because I'm a proud Black Southerner. Two, because this was not safe or thoughtful or considerate. Three, because after she says this, the Black woman instructor pops up and says, I just want to pause. I just want everyone to stop here. Spirit is telling me to let y'all know that, this isn't just a white woman crying. You know that, right? This is not just a white woman crying. Like, we've all been every race. We've all been every culture. So just open your mind. This is not just a white woman crying. And, baby, there were 7 people in that Zoom room, including the instructor. So it was me, the instructor, and one other Black woman in this space, and then 5 white women. And somehow Spirit told the Black woman instructor to say, don't see this as a white woman crying. Open your mind and recognize that she was once Japanese. And so I kind of like tuned out. I blacked out. My wall went up after that because I'm like, oh, this is a fucking dangerous ass space. And how are you going to let her just disparage the South? The woman afterwards said, oh, I'd never go to the South. I'd never go to the South. But there are people here. There are spiritual people here that are, they're there to do important work. And so that work is so important. And that shit was trifling as fuck, and it made my stomach hurt, and I was exhausted. And I did reach out to the instructor and tell her why I was leaving and why that was fucked up. And I couldn't imagine why she would do that, or why Spirit would have told her to tell the majority of white women in there that this wasn't a white woman we was looking at. But she wrote back and gaslit me and essentially suggested that, I was not spiritually elevated enough to recognize the reality of reincarnation. And I realized then that I had been looking up to this Black woman as someone who had something that she could give me that I couldn't get no other way. And thankfully, it only lasted me 2 months. Excuse me, I'm sorry, it didn't last 2 months. It lasted 2 days. 2021, the PhD program lasted 4 months. 2019 to 2020, the violent abusive relationship lasted about 2 years. So I'm getting better at looking around and being like, oh, I don't want none of this shit. It's actually not supposed to be on my plate at all. There are other things I could be doing with my energy, with my time, with my sense of self, with my magical powers. And I deserve to find those things and do those things. So I guess that's what I'm thinking about as it relates again to the 10 of staffs, is making space for the responsibilities that I want to take on, the things that are important to me, the things that, although they may be challenging, they are affirming to me and who I say I am and who my ancestors tell me I am. That's where I want to spend my time and my energy. That's where I want to direct my ambition, my will, my passion. And yeah, I've had quite a few experiences over the last 5 years that have been like, yeah, the year of no, the season of no. And that has brought me to a place of clarity and excitement that I hope translates and is infectious to you all as well. And we're going to stop it right here.